Well, hello, and welcome to the Influential Women Podcast. Miss Jessi Ones in the house. How are you, Jess?
Awesome. Thanks for having me. We kind of threw this together kind of last minute because we kept changing the date, so this is kind of thrown together.
We did. There's wine involved. I just stopped at the wine store, so we're good. So let's start off with the toast.
Cheers. What are we cheersing?
To you being an influential woman.
Well, that's nice of you even to think of me that way. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super excited to have Jessi here. I've known her for years, and she has been the executive director for Casa now for almost a year.
Yep, almost a year. It's gone by really fast.
It has. Oh my goodness. So just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh gosh, that's a big question. So, well, originally I'm from Pueblo, and I was one of those that was eager to leave. And so once I graduated, I went to school at Proudest College in Durango. And I graduated with a communications degree, and then I went on to work for the public relations office for the school district Durango. So I stayed for a number of years. And then eventually, I hate to admit this, but it was a boy that brought me back to the Front Range. We'd been together for several years, and he moved back, and my best friend Jen moved back, and all my pieces were moving back here. So I felt like it was time. And I up and quit my job, and I loved my job, but I quit it and I moved back. And on a whim, I decided to walk in Clear Channel Radio and apply for a marketing promotions job. His job was in Springs, and I got the job, and I learned a lot. Charnel Mayer, by the way, was a huge influential woman for me during that time. But we broke up 4 months later. I was like, what did I just do?
You moved for a boy and then you broke up. How many other women can relate to that?
Yeah,
I can.
Really? Did you do that?
Yeah, I was up in school at Greeley and then moved home.
For a boy?
For a boy, and then we broke up.
How much longer was it after you?
Oh, I don't like talking about exes, so let's just keep hearing about you.
So we broke up 4 months later, and I'm like, what am I doing? But we were sponsoring an event through Clear Channel Radio for the Chamber of Commerce through the Clear Channel Radio, and I went into it was a pub crawl for the Chamber of Commerce, and I went into this bar. It was Cock and Bull at the time, and I saw this man across the room. And I just knew it. And it was a love at first sight.
You're kidding.
It was. It was one of those moments where I saw him and he saw me. And that's my now husband. And he's what's kept me here. In fact, at one point, I did apply for a different marketing job. And I did get the job at marketing job at World Arena in Colorado Springs. And then I was offered the marketing job at the convention center in Pueblo. And
so you were a marketing guru, you would say.
Yeah, I just always fell into that. Was my natural. It's who I am. It's my personality. And I asked Chad. I said, should I take the job in Springs or the job in Pueblo? And he said, take the job in Springs, and I'll move for you, basically. And so I was like, oh, this is my guy. Like, he was ready and willing to move for me in my career. And so I didn't take the job in Springs. I took the job in Pueblo at the Pueblo Convention Center, and the rest is pretty much history.
I love it.
Yeah.
So you say you have a personality. What would define your personality, Jess?
I would say that I'm very creative. I like to draw. I love to do figure drawing, graphics, just drawing. I would say that I'm caring. I love people, truly love people. And I would say that I'm a positive person. I try and stay positive and always think the best case scenario.
Yep.
What would you say about me?
Yeah. Oh, I think you hit them all on the head. Yeah. But just very sincere, very loving.
Oh, thank you.
Like mother hen. Very wise.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I try to be discerning and make good decisions and be thoughtful about them. In fact, we talked about this and we rescheduled a couple times because I said, I just really want to be thoughtful in my answers.
You're like, I'm not ready yet. Have you ever done a podcast?
I've done interviews over the years, especially working in radio, but I've never done a podcast talking about myself. I will tell you that I just did a little women's workshop with Fellowship of the Rockies, and I had to go up there and talk about myself. And that was really humbling because I was talking about all the things about me that are bad and why I needed help and why I needed change. And that's probably one of the hardest things I've done is it's not nearly a podcast, but getting in a room of women and telling them why I need work and why I need help. So
why do you think you need work?
I think we're all always in a constant state of change, and I need people who, I feel like I do feed people. And I do feel like sometimes people do look to me, but I need to be fed, you know, so it's not good for me to be pouring myself out when somebody's not pouring into me. And so I do have a mentor, Renee Lane is her name, and I've been with her for about 2 years, and I'm just so grateful to her. She's been such a good mentor for me.
That is so good, because I do think there are a lot of women out there who are always the ones giving advice, but it's so important to fill your cup too. Right. So that, you know, you can let it go and for generations and generations to come.
Yeah. I mean, we need to be teachers, but we need to be taught too. You know, to be a good, discerning and wise person, you need people who are giving you wise words to pass on. So it was something I definitely needed.
Oh, I love it. So love at first sight. You don't always hear those love stories. You know, super cute. Got married, had 2 sweet boys.
Yes, I have Paxton, or we have Paxton, and he's almost 10. And then Everett, who is 7. And I love my boys with all my heart. And you know that about me. I just, first and foremost, is always being a mom. So I love being their mom. Well,
and after the boys were born, you decided to take a break from, you know, being career woman to being mom, you know, stay-at-home mom, which is the biggest job there is, I feel like.
Right.
Was that an easy decision, or is that something you always wanted to do?
It was mixed. I mean, I think I've always wanted to be a mom. In fact, I remember when I was in 3rd grade and they had everybody go around the room and say what they wanted to be. And I said I wanted to be mom. And I remember the whole class laughed at me as if that wasn't something to aspire to. So I've always wanted to be a mom. I've never really thought of myself essentially really as a career woman, but I've just always fallen into that. And I don't know why. But yeah, it was hard because I worked for 10 plus years in really high demanding roles in the community and marketing positions. And then Chad was traveling for work. He was gone Monday through Thursday, and something just had to give. And I remember I had postpartum. I was supposed to be on maternity leave, but I was still doing work, which advice for women, when you're on maternity leave, truly take maternity leave.
Right.
Do not let people give you work to do.
Shame on your employer.
I know. It was actually this really wonderful person that was good to me, Chris Kaufman, and I was supposed to meet him for a meeting. And so I just wrapped up baby and all my stuff, and I went to go meet him, and it took forever to get there, and then he canceled the meeting on me. And it was that moment, because I was supposed to go back to work, and this was when I did marketing for Urban Renewal, which I love that job as well. I just said, I can't do this. And it was a really big moment for me to admit that. So I've been at home for the last 9 years, and just in this last year, and you've been talking about influential, you've been influential in my life in the last year because I called you. Somebody from Casa had reached out to me and said, you'd be a perfect fit for this job. I knew you were on the board and you served as our chair of our board. And I asked your advice. I'm like, what do you think? Do you remember what you told me?
If you don't take it, I'm hiring you for Wake Up.
Yeah, and it was. And this
I didn't know you were ready.
I didn't know I was ready. I don't know if I still am ready, to be honest.
Oh, well, you're killing it. You're doing such an amazing job. We're so blessed to have you at Casa, and I'm so glad you're back in the swing of things. And I admire you for knowing that time when it was like, okay, I can't do both. And you made the decision which you thought was best for you and your family. And did you have any regrets?
No.
No regrets.
No.
You cherished every moment.
Every moment. And, it's hard. I just love my boys. I can't even talk about them without crying. Being at home with them has been the best years of my life. And it was the best decision I've ever made.
And what advice would you give to, a soon-to-come mom, or, a mom-to-be, or somebody who's on maternity leave and is still just debating the factor of, do I go back to work?
Right.
Do I stay at home? It's such a hard decision. I know I had the hardest time making that decision.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of factors you have to consider. I didn't have support systems. My mom was working. A lot of people have grandparents. I have a mother-in-law who's wonderful. I love her very much, but she lives in Canyon City. My father-in-law was taking care of his own, girlfriend at the time who was very ill. And then my dad works. So I didn't have that grandparent support. So there's that. So consider the factors. Somebody's going to be taking care of your kids. So make sure you feel comfortable about who that person is. And then if you decide to do it, it's okay to step in and out. A lot of people know that I've worked on and off for the library over the last 9 years. And so at 3 different times, actually, for 3 to 5 month stints, I've worked for them. When marketing people stepped out, Midori Clark called me and said, will you step in? And so I've done that 3 different times. So my advice to women, if you do decide to stay home, make sure you find an outlet and keep your foot in the door somehow. Make sure you're still using and exercising your talents. But it's a hard decision. It's a very personal one. And there is really no right answer. And you know that. Yeah. I mean, if you can find it nowadays, you can find an employer who respects that. And I will say that about Zane Grant at Casa. And when I applied for the job, I actually thought it was part-time.
I know.
And I was wrong. And then he offered me the job. He said, I know you understood it as part-time, but it is full-time, but I will give you Fridays off so you can be with your kids. Because he said, I cannot expect you to advocate for kids' health if I don't give you the freedom to do that for your own. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is where I need to be in that moment. So if you can find an employer, if you're kind of mixed emotions, that respects that and appreciates, there's also job shares. Mm-hmm. Lacey Desmond and I talked about that for years, and Midori almost hired us both as timeshare, and then she moved away.
Right.
So...
Well, and that's why I stayed with Lamar when I was because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. Until you're in that position, it's like, well, I had a job that was super flexible and would let me leave whenever I needed. Like, they knew my family was still going to come first. And so for me, that's why I stayed working, because I knew I could still do all the things and not miss out.
And that's huge when you have a boss that doesn't just care about you, but cares about your family and your kids. That's so important. So that'd be my advice to women. If you have mixed emotions, if you decide you're going to apply for a job, make sure it's a job that respects your role as a mom.
Mm-hmm. And what's your why?
Oh, gosh, all these big questions.
Do you need a drink?
Okay, let's do that. Let me think about that. I'm not sure if that'll help or make it worse. I think it's natural for every woman who is a mom to say, my kids. And I think that moment, like when Chad and I are 60 years old and we have this beautiful home that we built that's in between our two kids, wherever they've settled, and we host a Christmas holiday, and they come home and they bring their wives or their families and their kids, and we're playing card games and we're having fun and we're enjoying each other because we love each other. That moment is my why.
You see that? You can't see because you're listening. But I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, it's a visual.
I love it.
It's a visual. Like that moment when I'm there, I'm like, this is why I did everything I did to be in this moment.
Oh, I love that. What card game? Do you guys play a lot of games now as a family?
Growing up, my mom's family, her side of the family, they're fun. They played a game called Pitch. Have you ever heard of it?
No, but Dad's family, did you hear that? You are not the fun side of the family.
No. Oh my gosh. No, I take that back.
Go just keep talking about Pitch.
Okay, so Pitch is a great card game when you can do different tables. And my aunt, Charlene, would always, at Thanksgiving, she would do different tables and you would work your way up to the high table. And it was fun. And it was just... a lot of, especially now through COVID, everybody's talking too much and saying things and offending each other. And, you play cards and you just cancel all that out. I love playing cards.
Can you have a girls' night playing that game? Because I don't know that. And I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a game Nazi.
Oh, are you? Okay.
So,
me too.
Like, I have every game you can think of. My kids like to play games.
Oh, good.
And my husband doesn't really enjoy playing with me because it's what I love.
Because you're competitive?
Yeah.
And you win. So what games do you play?
The list is
do you know
long.
Uno, Skippo? I play those with the boys.
All those.
Mastermind is a really good game my kids love.
I haven't done that one.
Oh, I'll buy that one for you. It's a thinker game for your kids. It's fun.
Just invite us over.
Yeah, we did that last night. Chad with the whole steel mill, they had the explosion. He's having to work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. And so I'm like, okay, let's entertain the boys here before I get them to bed. So we played cards.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we did before I put them to bed.
I love it. We were playing chess last night.
Yeah. Have you watched the new movie, Queen's Gambit?
No.
It's about chess.
Okay.
And they've said that chess sales have gone up since that movie has come out. It's a really good movie. Nobody plays chess anymore.
No, we did that a lot during COVID. We brought out all those things and puzzles and all of those kind of things you think of. Anyways, you're on the Influential Women podcast because, I adore you and think you're influential in so many ways. Who has been an influential woman in your life?
Oh, Jenny, that is such a big question. I think there's so many different women who've been influential in my life in different ways and different times.
Different chapters.
Yeah, different chapters. I think in terms of my career, the first woman that comes to mind is a woman named Deborah Uroda. And I used to write press releases for the college as income for myself. And then I knew at a certain point that there was more to PR than just writing press releases. And I asked my advisor, who's the best PR person in Durango, Colorado? And her name is Debbie Rhoda, and she was a former PR director of the college, former reporter, news broadcaster. And I just called her up and I said, hey, I want to learn. Are you willing to teach me? And she said, come on in. And so I did an interview and she hired me, and I worked for her for several years and learned so much from her. But I think in terms of my career, I think she kind of set me on a good path. I'm grateful to Midori for my transition years, for supporting me and including me and allowing me to exercise my skills.
And that was at the library.
And and I'm still very involved. I'm the president of the foundation board for the library, and I love the library and all my little library friends. And then I would say...
Are you a book nerd?
I don't say I'm a book nerd, but I like books. So
I do too. And I hope that came out totally wrong. That was me not having a filter.
No, I think that's a true statement. Okay. I think it's a good escape thing. When I was a kid, I remember reading all those, English novels and just reading to escape. But I think I have a healthy relationship with books.
Mm-hmm. What's your all-time favorite book that you would recommend to anybody?
Oh my gosh. The Bible, because everybody needs Jesus. No, I don't know.
Everybody needs Jesus. I love it.
No, I don't know. See, I just read a really good book in terms of women and learning, and it's you'd probably like it. It's called The Best Yes. Mm-hmm. And it's about, as women, we overcommit ourselves and we say yes to too many people, and how to make those best discerning decisions that are best for you, but also best for your family and your finances and your spiritual health and your physical and mental health. But that's a really good book that I'd recommend. And
how do you do with... Because it seems like you say yes a lot.
Yes.
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 Are you not good with the no word, or what do you do to...
I am bad with the no word. I'm working on developing a no button. I loved COVID in a lot of ways. It was good for me. I had a break from different people and different things that not necessarily bad, but they weren't necessary. Mm-hmm. And because I'm kind of re-entering the world again as COVID has come up, I really need to redevelop that no button again. So I'm really working on that, and it's not something I'd give advice on because I haven't mastered it, but I would definitely recommend that book.
Okay, I appreciate that. I used to be always the yes person too.
What do you do now to make sure you say no when you need to say no?
I just say no all the time, and then I'll come back and say, you know what, maybe I can do that, because I was finding I was totally overcommitted, and it was taking time away from my family.
Yeah.
And so I had to reorganize my life. Like, what is the most important? And as long as it doesn't, come within my family time, I will usually say yes.
Yeah. I think that you have to know your why, right? Mm-hmm. Everything should go back to your why. Mm-hmm. But I definitely, one of my advice to women is to find your no button and start pushing it.
Yep. It's okay to say no, because I think we're just doers and want to help the world, and
especially you care about people, and I love people, but you can be easily taken advantage of, and I've definitely have been taken advantage of on many occasions and situations and relationships and work and everything. So I have to be very careful. I work for people that care about me. I have friends who authentically care about me. I have to be very careful with that.
Mm-hmm. And what obstacle have you overcome?
Well, I have overcome a lot of obstacles, but I was telling Chad, I was like, that's a really good question. But as I was listing off the different things, he goes, it's kind of interesting that you're halfway normal because of those things. But my biggest obstacle, one that I can probably speak on that probably relates to specifically your audience and women, is I think postpartum depression is a very real thing. And I don't think you're in it until you're out of it sometimes.
Oh, I knew I was in it when I was in it.
Like, what did you do to get out of it?
I don't know. I don't know what I did to get out of it. I think it just took time.
Did somebody recognize it in you, or you were like,
Oh no. So I remember standing, like, I was nursing, but I couldn't nurse, we're bleeding. Mm-hmm. And I was in my hospital underwear still. Mm-hmm. And that's all I was wearing. And my hair was in a messy bun. I don't think I had makeup on for like 3 weeks. I remember just like bawling my eyes out in the middle of the stairs. And my husband's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I just don't know. And like, he saw me at my worst. I'm like, I didn't think I would ever be that woman to get it. And it's a thing.
Yeah, it's real. And if we don't have support systems around us and people to kind of recognize it, and we have to, I was at dinner the other night with somebody who just had a baby, and I said, would you like me to feed your baby? Oh, if you want to. And like, if you want your baby, I can, but if you need a break, I will give you a break. I will feed your baby. She's like, yes, please, I need a break. I'm like, good job. For speaking up and saying that, like you need to tell. Yeah,
I think I did that to you one time. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. And I was going to say that, but I didn't want to.
I'm an open book.
That was one of my favorite moments. Like if I had to do top 10 Jenny moments for me, that is probably my very favorite one. And you said you know that moment. We were at a junior league meeting. Mm-hmm. Your husband was out of town. I think you were either pregnant or
I just had a baby and I had a toddler. Right. That was one.
And so you knew in that moment you shouldn't have said yes. You shouldn't have been there. Yes. And it was stressful and your kids were there and you were not in the moment and you were not where you needed to be and you knew that. And I said, let me help you carry your stuff out.
I was like, I'm out of here.
And I walked with you. I walked with you. You're and sweet. I carried some of your bags and babies out and we were in the car. And I think I even told you in that moment, it's like, you've, especially now you're in the trenches and you have to say no. Not just for you, but for your babies too.
Right, because it's miserable for everybody.
Yeah, it's just not fun.
It's not fun. So just say no. It's okay if you miss out an event or a meeting.
It is.
You're going to be fine. You'll hop back in when the timing's right.
And I'll tell you what, by saying no, the right people and the right things still show up when they're supposed to. You're not missing anything. Because if God's meant that for you to be in your life, it'll be there. He knows your heart and you're honest toward it. It'll be there. So.
And how did you know with postpartum?
I didn't know then, but looking back, I had a pastor named Jill Vanderwall at First Pres, and she kept calling me, and she finally got me out, and we had like mom's little, which also became my mom's prayer group. That's how I met Nicole Eller and April Elkins and some different women in my life, but she probably recognized it, and she pulled me in. Women like Emily Vidmar pulled me in. I think other people saw it maybe, and then years later, I'm like, oh gosh, I needed those people. I really did. And I had a really great friend, Jordan, and my friend Melissa, and just developing a community of women to support each other in momhood. But I think we all kind of looked at each other like, we need each other. Yeah. So.
And that's okay. Yeah. Like you need that. I think all women need that. Mm-hmm. So what advice do you have? Just find a woman that you can they can understand you, or what's your recommendation for postpartum, since that's one of your obstacles?
Definitely recognizing that, when you have that moment, recognize that's possibly what it could be. Talk to somebody, like that mom did a good job by saying, I need help, even in that little tiny moment. Find a support system of women who care about you. I love the YMCA. When I die, I will be a huge donor of the YMCA, because when Chad traveled, I would take the kids to the daycare there. I'd go work out and get my little mental, physical break. And then we'd go swimming. I'd wear them out. And then we'd take a shower. I'd put their pajamas on and we would go back to the house. So, and I've had good friends. I mean, one of my best friends, Jen, she's such a good person. But I had friends who gave me really good advice on momhood and handling things. So find a teacher, but someone that knows your heart too, because we all have advice, but only certain people know you, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What's been one of your proudest moments where you're like,
I appreciate this, because I think Amy Gasparetti, when I posted that on Facebook, said, what's your proudest moment beyond your kids? Because I think that's the first, my kids.
Right. Yeah, beyond your kids. Because as moms, we just say that.
Well, because number one, it's true. How could it not be? But I think, just I love my husband so much. He's such a good man, and he's so caring and kind. And,
she's gonna get Wife of the Year award. Did you hear? What's your most proud moment?
Okay, so I would say I'm very proud of the work I did at Urban Renewal before I decided to stay at home. I worked on the regional tourism grant, and if you don't know what that is, that's the expansion of the River Rock that we see now. That's been completed, but that actually started with Gigi Dennis, who's spouse to Dean Dennis. When I was at the convention center, he knew I was moving from the convention center to Urban Renewal, and he handed the bill and he put it in my hands. When you go to Urban Renewal, you need to be working on this. And I was so grateful for the people and the men who allowed me to be a part of the conversation, and I wrote most of that grant. And I knew, because I worked at the convention center, so I know our economic impact numbers, our visitation numbers, our outside dollar spending money. I just knew all those economic catalysts and engines that should be included in the conversation. And they let me write it. And then we had a firm in Denver that packaged it all together. And, here I am back at work. Now it's finally done. But I don't think a lot of people know that little Jessi is, had an instrument role, but it's something I look and see, and it didn't come out like it was supposed to. There were a lot of missing pieces. But I love that job because I was amongst dreamers and I was allowed to dream. And but I'm really proud of being part of that dream in Pueblo.
I am too. Well, thank you for your work on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Did you ever feel like being a woman held you back?
I would say it's created some challenges. I remember when we were having the conversation for the Regional Tourism Project, and they had just, our executive director just had resigned, and in fact, they made me interim operations director for several months. And so I had to step in that role with a bunch of Politico men in the room. And I remember they were trying to draw the TIF boundaries for where that tax increment financing was going to come from. And they were all doing they weren't listening to me. And I was like, you can't justify that as revenue because they didn't understand how it was working. And I will say this about Rod Slyhoff. In that moment, he said, listen to Jessi. So, and I think I was younger.
I miss Rod.
Oh, I do too. And I remember he said, listen to Jessi. And then they did. They drew the boundaries, as I said. Like, this has to be areas that actually justify outside dollar spending coming in. Like, you can't just draw these little circles around Pueblo. Like, they didn't get it.
Right.
And so, I definitely think I worked against me at different times. But I had as many influential women. I had influential men that, like Rod, that supported me. So I will always be grateful to him.
Me too. I love Rod.
Did you do a lot with him in your early years, or
not my early? Well, being in a, joining the chamber and being involved, we did a lot of trade with Lamar and that kind of stuff. But he was just like an extra father for me. Like,
really,
he was so sweet with me. And then for many years, he asked me to be on his board, and I said my no button because I finally knew what my no button was.
Yeah.
And then last year I said yes.
How did you develop your no button? I could probably learn from you in that area.
It just took too much time out of my baby. So now my new rule is, and it was advice from another woman just saying, if it's family time, I say no. If it's time that I'm, unless it's Casa. Like for me, Casa's my one thing I do outside of,
it's not too demanding though. It's a great board, don't you think?
No, it is. But still, it's outside my, you know what I'm saying? And my boundaries are different. But now you're in Casa. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing and what you got up your sleeve.
Sure. So I have the honor of being the development director at Casa Pueblo, which has been around for 19 years. And they have a very important job. They basically recruit and train volunteers to serve as advocates for youth who have been removed from the home because of abuse or neglect. And they serve as their voice in the community, in the courts. So essentially what that means is they keep eyes on our kids. And there's a lot of kids who are hurting right now. We've had remote learning, reporting for child abuse is down, not because it is down, but because we don't have eyes on our kids. And so those CASAs are very critical. What happens is the court will appoint, request that a CASA volunteer be appointed to a very complicated case where they want to make sure there's extra eyes on that. So at the end of the case, or what you hope would be the end, but the judge will ask the CASA, what do you think? And the CASA will say, I spoke to Johnny and he said he feels comfortable with grandma. So you truly are the voice for the child. Mom will have a lawyer, dad will have a lawyer, grandmas will have a lawyer, but who truly is representing what's best for the child? And it's the CASA. And these are, well, as you know, Jenny, and you are a CASA. What do you think about the experience as a volunteer?
It's not easy. It's hard to see children go through that. It's hard. It's not easy to be a CASA, I will say that. But you go in thinking it's going to help change their life. You making a difference, but really ends up changing your life in your aspect because you're a lot more grateful for what you have.
And that's why we have so many amazing volunteers, because this is a hard job. This is not like a bake sale. Like, you are investing your time in a child who needs to be on a different course. And people who always say, I wish I could adopt. I feel like this is like the next best thing is if you can't foster adopt. This is, just get in there, help them out for that, hopefully less than a year, and help them find a safe and permanent home, whether it's mom recovering, which is always the best case scenario. And especially as a Christian, I feel like if mom can be okay and baby can be okay, that's the goal. And I love that about CASA. That's what we try to do. But that doesn't always happen either. And so then what's the next best case scenario? And so you are talking about wisdom and discernment. That's your responsibility, is to bring that to the court and protect the child and make sure they're in a safe, good place. But
It's so hard.
It's a great organization. I'm really proud. I really love all the people that I work with. Tammy's amazing, of course.
She is. I love her.
Sarah's a hard worker. I asked if she had any profound advice for me before I walked out the door. And then, of course, we have our case supervisors who do an excellent job, and they are just truly the best human beings in the world.
They are. Well, and we have our largest fundraiser coming up this summer.
Yes.
Over the Edge.
Yay, woohoo! Over the Edge. I'm super excited because I love this event when it was even a part of Casa. What a cool, unique, one-of-a-kind experience. And I think that we have been living in a state of fear for over a year. And it is time for us to live.
Absolutely.
And embrace it and create change and turn this
walk
around.
off the side of a building.
So so I'm looking for about 20 more rappellers, people that are brave enough to rappel over the Thatcher building. It's 10 stories. The caveat to that is you have to fundraise $1,000. If you don't reach $1,000, we'll take the donation because we still need it. So either way, it's you don't fail. You're helping us. But of course, we have to have that fundraising money because we do have to pay the rappelling company. That professional company comes in and does this. This is not Zane and I holding the rope.
Right.
Like,
and if you're nervous,
be careful.
This company has never lost anybody. They've never dropped.
No.
So any of the fears you may have, it's not going to happen. And I mean, to think of what our kids go through in the community, rappelling over a building is nothing compared to what these kids face in the different hardships they face. It's nothing. So please, sorry, this is a quick little shout out to Over the Edge and Casa. Please rappel, go off the building.
Yes,
you got to raise
please.
$1,000, or if not, donate to one of your friends to go over. It's just a fun event.
Are you going to do it again, or you're going to find somebody rappel? Oh, you've never done it.
Send my husband
You've
over.
never done it. Here you are. You've actually never done it. I don't know about that, Jenny.
Oh, well, I've been pregnant, and so I've got to use
pregnancy card.
All the different excuses.
You've done plenty, especially with Wake Up Pueblo. You just did a great promo video for us, so you've definitely done a lot to help. So, but I would. I will tell you, just sometimes I'm writing these grants. I do a lot of grant writing. And I'll be writing, and sometimes I'll fall to tears. It's hard stuff. And Tammy will come in and she's like, "Are you okay?"
What's the worst story you've heard?
Sad. Well, I can't really tell private cases, but I will say, just the sexual abuse cases are so unimaginable. I just don't know how people could hurt a child. And it's really important that we have volunteers that are willing to keep eyes on those kids. And again, we keep saying the word discernment and wisdom, but they need people to step in and give wisdom to that judge to make the right decision, to make the best decision. And so if this speaks to your heart, I just encourage you to call Tammy to become a volunteer, because there were 33 kids that we had to turn away because we didn't have enough volunteers. Even though we had a record number of volunteers last year, over 100 volunteers, there were 33 kids we had to turn away because we didn't have enough volunteers. And I will say we have closed that gap, because a few years ago it was about 65 that we had to turn to 5. So we're steadily closing that gap. But I think this is a really big chapter for Casa. It's been a big shift and change of staff, and there's another place that we need to go, and we need to close that gap in these next 5-10 years and make sure every kid who's hurting has somebody has their back.
Absolutely. And that's just not in Pueblo. There's Casas, it's worldwide. So if you're listening not from Pueblo and you want to help out there, reach out to the local Casa there, and you can become a Casa, which is court-appointed special advocate. Yeah?
Yes. And we actually oversee 2 other Casas. We have one in Canyon City, and they're desperately in need of volunteers in Canyon City. And then we have a great new, of course, Arkansas Valley Casa in La Junta with Cynthia. They have great programs there as well. They need, these rural communities need help too. So if you have any desire or heart for a child, I'd ask that you consider volunteering. If you can't volunteer, please donate, because a lot of people are hurting right now through COVID. So individual donations are down. We've been relying a lot on grants, and I'm so grateful for the foundations that have come through and supported us. Thank you, Rawlings and Packard, and there's so many of them that have been good to us, and I just appreciate people that are stepping up to help right now.
Well, and I'm thankful for you.
Oh, I'm thankful
for doing
for you
the work you do. You're doing an amazing job, and I knew you were the perfect fit.
I don't know.
I'm still excited you're there.
I don't know.
So thank you for the work that you do for our kiddos.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do on the board and being a Casa volunteer. Talk about putting your mouth into action. I love that.
Yeah, except for rappelling off a building.
Yeah, but I think Casa volunteer is probably, that's very important.
Absolutely. And you know what, you're super mom. Now you're back to career mom, and then you volunteer.
I do. I'm going to probably in some things here as I kind of finish up my term on the library.
But you've always volunteered. Why is that important to you?
Well, when I was a stay-at-home mom, which again, this is my advice to women if they decide to make the decision, if you don't want to part-time work, volunteer. It's a great place to meet other people and again, exercise your skills and talents. I volunteered because I care about people. I think most people that volunteer truly, they wouldn't do it because they're giving time away from their kids and families. So I do it because I genuinely care about people and I can't say no. But I'm going to work on that. But I'm finishing up my term with the foundation board, the library. I've been involved with them for 5 or 6 years. And so it's time for somebody else to fill that role. And I'll continue to support Nick and the amazing library folks over there. And they know that I love them and I'm there for them.
When I hear the library is also giving away $100 scholarship to any kid in Pueblo that reads 10 books. So you got a kiddo out there and you could use some extra money. It goes into a savings account.
Yes.
And
it's a pay-to-read program. If you go to their website, there's a link for you to register. And they're really pushing that right now because, again, we just need to, especially with kids remote learning, and we got to get these kids academically using their brains again. So,
what do you do for self-care?
Nothing. Okay.
All right. So this is a work on Jessi day.
This is not, this is really not influential. Okay. To be honest, I'm being funny, which isn't really funny, but I
think it's a little funny.
I think things that I do, I really try to get up every morning and do Pilates. I love Pilates. And I do that Bible app, that devotional, and then I'll journal. I love writing things down. And you probably do this as a goal maker. I write things down that I want to see change in my life. And then it's amazing to go back and see.
You're like, wow, I actually.
And I, before here, especially with Casa, I wrote in there, like, I would like to be doing something, and here I am.
So what else is on that list? What did you write down this morning?
This is so bad, but I wanted to get healthy. And I did during COVID. I lost 10 pounds, and it's not about weight, but I was healthy and I wasn't drinking. I wasn't around bad friends, bad people. I spent my quality time with my family and kids.
And here we are drinking wine.
I know.
I'm such a terrible influence.
Resorty. But I did climb a 14er.
Oh,
and
which one?
A Chavano. It's like my 10th one I did, but I broke my ankle. I don't know if people knew that. And then I had to walk down a 14er with a broken ankle for 2 more miles. And so
talk about an obstacle you overcame. How did you walk down? Did you get a piggyback?
No. I just walked down. In fact, I was with Jen Fitzpatrick, who's an amazing orthopedic surgeon in town and one of my Casa sponsors. So thank you, Jen. But she offered me painkillers to get down. And one of the smartest things I did was said, no, I'd rather know my pain so I know how to step so I don't make it worse. And I think that was so smart on my part because I would have damaged it more had I not just.
Did you fall or what happened?
I fell. I just heard it crack. I cracked it 2 different places across. So I think your question was about what I do, but
no, I'm totally interested in this 14er story.
Yeah, so I cracked, and it took us an hour and a half longer. And Nicole Eller was with us, and our friend Valerie, and they were very patient with me. It took me an hour and a half longer to get down the mountain, and when I got back, she's like, you can either have wine or you can have painkillers. I'm like, I'll just have wine. And we were at the hot springs, and you
didn't even go to the doctor after.
I didn't. And Jen's like, you need to get in here. I'm like, no, it's fine. She's like, Jessica, it is broken. You've been walking on a broken ankle. And so when I started Casa, I had a boot for 3 months. So right now, as far as just taking self-care and taking care of myself, I'm trying to repair my ankle. I've been going to Fast Fitness. Have you heard of that place? And they have a women's class, and you did some circuit training, right? Did you like that when you did the weights?
Yeah. I need somebody to keep me accountable, so I could do anything as long as there. I won't just show up.
Yeah. So I'm doing that, and I also have a little mom's prayer group that we developed through COVID.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Yeah, just my friend Nicole Eller, she and I, that's how we met, was a mom's prayer group when I was a young mom, again, finding your support systems. And we all kind of started, and some of us stuck, some of us didn't, just because of life. And we pray for each other, and we're a very transparent group and talk about the things that we need help with. And I mean, between the four of us, I mean, there's been, attempted, not us personally, but people in our lives with suicide and job loss and kids struggling. And there's just so many things that we've all been through COVID. And I really needed people. So they've been helpful. And I'd also say my little rye friends, I call them, they're such a great group of fun women, where you can have a good time with. It's like safely have a good time with. You need safe, fun friends, right? And they'd invite me out to ride through COVID, and we'd have these little gatherings outside and just...
You're not supposed to say that stuff loud.
I did. I did. I needed people, not a lot of people. I mean, it was a small group. And that was, did you like that about COVID, being with small groups of people?
It. Oh, yeah.
Getting to know people better on a one-on-one level, or...
Yeah, I just loved being at home with my husband and my kiddos, and just because we are 24/7 busy people. Doing sports, doing jobs, it was just nice to do nothing and do the things we never make time to do.
It seems like your neighbors were important to you guys during that time too.
Yeah, they had little ones, and so we got really close, and we saw them every day. Even last night we went to go make s'mores, and Parker goes, "I'm going to go get Bob." I'm like, "What do you need Bob for?" He goes, "Well, we're having a campfire. Bob should be over here." I'm like, "Honey, you go get Bob." So Bob joined us at the campfire. He's just so sweet, but
really good. It was important to have good neighbors during this COVID.
Yeah. Well, I love that you have a mom's prayer group, and it's so important to be able to have that network that you can open up freely and just...
Yeah, you're always welcome.
I just invited myself. Yeah. Did you see my shoe in there? Yeah. I would love to come.
I mean, anybody is always welcome. I mean, you can have church with me anytime over wine too. That counts, I think. So
Jesus drank wine.
Yeah, Jesus drank wine. I mean, I think we complicate religion and faith so much. And it's really about loving people and loving each other in the moment. It doesn't have to be. Church actually means people. It doesn't mean a building. And so church happens in lots of different ways.
Have you ever thought of being a pastor?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm like, you're already like getting me in. I'm like,
No, I don't. I'm definitely not pastor material, because I don't think that I have so many imperfections that I just would not.
Stop it.
No, there's so many things that you have to be very accountable, right? And I don't know that I have a lot of growing to do. There's a lot of things that I need to work on and change.
How is your faith important to you?
It's the basis for everything that I do. I guess it's one of my whys. It's in the end we all die, right? Mm-hmm. Now, 2 years from now, and we all die. And so I think my faith hopefully drives you to live a better life and to live a loving life. And I think that I really strive to do the most loving thing. Again, I'm not perfect, and I've messed up and have had a lot of moments,
haven't we all?
But I mean, I understand the end goal is to leave this life, and hopefully there's another better one. And if there's not, at least I lived my life towards something that was meaningful and kind and loving and purposeful toward others. And so I think faith keeps your perspective and keep you grounded. And
I love it.
Yeah. What about for you? Is faith important for you too?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a big part of our foundation as a family, and how we treat people and what we do for, to better our lives and the lives of others. I mean, it's definitely important to us.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something I could always get better at.
Right. It's something you always I actually I went to a funny story. I went to a random yoga class with actually Kelly Pay a couple weeks ago for her birthday. And there was this yoga instructor, and she said, we have this idea of, when we reach enlightenment, that it's this steady thing and we get there and then we stay there forever and we're enlightened and we're perfect and we're clean and we're good. But truly enlightenment in her mind was like remembering peace, because we come in and out of it, right?
Yeah, it's like a little roller coaster.
I liked that more than, enlightenment, which seems so unattainable, but
I love how you put that.
Remembering peace. Like, because you're doing good. You're like, oh, I messed up.
Right.
And then you go, oh, good. I'm very good. Oh, and then I mess up. So it is like this remembering piece. And I feel like I'm constantly doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, or at least for me anyways. I loved how you worded that.
Yeah. Well, I can't take credit for it. It was this really great yoga instructor who was more like a comedy act than a yoga instructor.
She was a talking yoga instructor.
I don't know if I'd call it yoga. We like rolled around a little bit. And she said a few jokes and they weren't that funny. It was interesting, but that was my takeaway.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
And what's on your bucket list? What are some dreams and ambitions that you still have?
I want to just continue to travel. Chad and I traveled the world before we had kids. There's so many just things I want to do. I'm going to go to Greece for a 15th year next year.
What part?
There was actually an area that Lacey had told me. I can't remember.
Santorini.
Well, it's Santorini, but there was a place that she meant. But Santorini, of course. But so I did need to do more little research on that area. But bucket list is to travel more with my husband because we really, you guys love to travel, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't travel a lot as kids. We were 4 of us. We didn't have money. We went to I think we went to Cave of the Wind. I mean, we didn't go a lot of places. My parents couldn't afford to. And so I think I really absorbed that now. And of course, being a stay-at-home mom, that's been different. But I would like to travel. I would like to invest in properties. I have one little rental, and I'm advice to women, instead of having a gigantic wedding where you don't know who half the people are. I didn't use my no button then either. My advice is to think about an investment property, and that would have been smart on my part. I'd like to pick up another property just because I think that's important that we plan for the future. I just want to continue to love my boys and watch them grow and see what they grow into. And I guess I've kind of done all the 14ers thing. So that thing's kind of become, I've been there, done that. And I will say the mountains are super crowded right now. And it's like everybody does it now. So it doesn't feel special. So I think I need to kind of, over the edge. It's going to be my new thing.
There you go.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a new bucket list.
Oh, yeah. But I would say investment properties. I would love to learn from like Corinne Kohler. Investing, I don't know much about that, but I would like to understand that. That's not something they teach in school that I feel like we should understand, because there's a lot of people that are doing well, and I don't understand how, but some people do.
So we need to do a workshop on how do you do it and get all these people that...
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be...
Corinne Kohler, come on, she'd be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I don't know. I think I've always thought about, I think we all say writing a book, so I think that's kind of standard. And I've written a few things, and I've never really finished.
Really? What would it be about?
It was a children's book, and it was actually based on my aunts. My dad was one of 9 kids, and I have 5 aunties. They're so creative and funny and quirky. And it was a book based on my aunts and like what characteristic they bring to the family, what you learn from them. Mm-hmm. But I wrote that, and I never finished. I was going to draw pictures. I've always wanted to have a product that I sell. I have a couple ideas.
I could see you selling lipstick. Be bold with Jessi.
Oh, I like that. That's a good idea.
You're always like, always got your lips on, no matter what.
I do. Yeah, I like my lips. I don't know. I'm a lippy person. But yeah, I thought about doing, well, I'm not going to tell you. Let me just do it, and then we can talk about it 2 years from now. How about that?
Oh, I like that.
What do you want to do? Is this it, what you're doing right now?
This is not your podcast, Jessi. This is my podcast.
I want to know about you.
Do you see what she just did there? That Jessi.
Oh, I like interviewing people. One of my first jobs was I interned for the newspaper, so my job was to ask questions. I think people are interesting.
What was your question you always asked?
Well, it just depended really on the story, but...
what question should I be asking you right now if you were in my seat?
I don't know, but you know what advice I ask people when I want advice? What would you tell your own daughter? Because usually you'll get the real answer from people when you make it personal. Well, would you have said that to your own daughter or your son? Would you have recommended the same thing? I did invest with somebody once, and then they're like, no. Like, well, then why would you think that I would want that? But so I think that, framing the question with people, would you do that for your own daughter or son?
I love that.
Yeah.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self? What advice would you give yourself that you know now that you didn't know then?
I think as women, we're hard on each other, on ourselves. And I would say that, I think because I was a dancer and I was a ballerina, but I was always...
You were a ballerina?
I was a ballerina, yeah.
How did I not know this? The pointy shoes and all?
I did. I had horrible feet from point shoes, and they damage your feet. But I love dancing. And so I think I was hard on myself and my physical appearance, and I would go back and say, girl, you look good, And I think I'd also say just good job, because there are so many moments where I questioned myself or my decisions, and I've always been very self-driven and independent, and just to have my older self come in the moment and say, you're doing good. Just keep going. Keep going. Yeah, be a cheerleader for myself. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And couldn't we all just be our own cheerleader just a little bit more? Or even just start? Because I don't think we take time to be like, you're kicking ass right now.
I know. Yeah, we need to be self-encouraging. That doesn't happen. And sometimes
that's something you always do. I always see you like being in the junior league. Like you have always been so encouraging for other women.
Oh, because I love them.
But when do you stop and just say, Jessi, I'm so proud of you?
I think in those quiet moments when I journal maybe, and I look back and it's tangible to me, I recognize that. And I definitely think that I'm more of a filler. Mm-hmm. That's why, again, this mentor has been good for me. And it's really important to me that I surround myself with people who authentically and truly care about me, because I do need encouragement, because maybe I'm not very good at that.
And that's okay, but how do you get better? Like, I'm always like, it's okay to not be good, but how can you get better at things?
Yeah, be honest about your flaws. I think, be honest about the things in your life that are painful and that hurt and where you need work, because it really truly is a first step to progress and change, is to being honest about what's not working. And, and kind of like when my foot, my ankle was hurting, like you could Band-Aid it with drugs and other things, but to make the right steps in life, to have wisdom in the way you step and not create more damage in your life, you have to kind of feel the pain, but you have to come out of it. But
man, you're so good with your words. I love it.
Really?
Yeah. And if you could have lunch,
I told you not me to make sure I don't ramble. I hope I don't ramble too much.
You're not rambling, but I'm going to have a little bit more wine. How you doing, Pumpkin?
I'm good. I'll have another sip. This is fun to do an interview with wine.
Oh, isn't it lovely?
All interviews should be with the wine.
I know. Well, I was so nervous, especially like the first handful. And Chavez, my production manager, he's like, do you know what you need, Jenny? I'm like, what? He goes, you need a cocktail.
Like, why were you nervous?
Because this is out of my comfort zone.
No, it's not.
100%.
How so?
It just makes me so nervous. Well, you get to sit here and just talk to influential women and hear their stories. I don't know.
Some of them probably were intimidating. We're friends.
Yeah, it does make it easier. But still, I get like a little butterfly in my stomach every time. And,
oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But I'm getting better. I have found that wine helps.
You're good at what you do. You are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're doing an excellent job. I'm really proud of you, and I'm so proud of you for making a platform for other women to tell their stories.
Yeah, it's so fun. It is so much fun.
You really do have, this might be like the best job in Pueblo right now, what you're doing.
Too bad I don't get paid for it. I should start like a donation box.
It'll pay back in different ways.
Okay.
Years from now. You're like, oh, that's
yeah, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm definitely doing it just to highlight women,
And you learn
and
things.
be their cheerleader, because we're not, we're always hard on ourselves. And sometimes you just need another woman to, get a glass of wine and say, Jess, I'm proud of you. You're making a difference.
I'm proud of you too.
So important. Good. So I challenge you today to call up a woman that's making a difference in your life and just tell them, you go, girl. Yeah. But anyways, dead or alive, who would you have lunch with and why?
I would say my mom's mom, so my maternal grandmother, and she died of breast cancer when my mom was pregnant with me. And I think that had to be so difficult for my mom. And I'm so proud of her for probably muscling through what was a really hard time. But I think that there was a loss of generational knowledge. I would love to know her and even understand my mom more and my family more and my roots and my history, because I think as women, we have so much to share. And a lot of women are like, oh, my grandma this, my grandma that. And I wish I had that generational knowledge. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably why I lean on mentorship and women who are wiser than me, because it's something that's been missing.
Yeah. That would have been hard. I couldn't imagine losing a mother while you're having your own child.
Right.
And all those.
I know. She had to be incredibly strong to just like muscle through. And I think, what a hard time to lose a mom when you're pregnant. And I am very proud of her for muscling through that time. But I would love to meet my grandma. And
what do you know about her? Like, what's 3 things that you do know about her that makes you happy and a proud granddaughter?
I heard she liked to get her hair done all the time, which that would have been fun because, as you know, I'm kind of infamous for my messy curly bun hair look. But she was known for going to the shop a lot and talking shop and getting her hair done.
That's cute.
I know that she loved piano music. And I know that she really had high expectations of her children. My grandparents, so my mom's mom and her dad owned the Thunderbird restaurant, which is a restaurant that was right next to Gorge Bridge. And it was a tourist trap. And then my grandfather had built a motel. And so, I mean, my mom grew up working her tail off in the family business. And so that work ethic, I definitely think, poured in from my grandmother to my mother and then into me. So I think I imagine that she was. I don't know that she was, but you can't have your own business and not have work ethic. So
absolutely. And you said you're one of 4?
I'm one of 4. I have an older sister and I have 2 younger brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of right in the middle.
Yes, I would say I'm total middle child.
You are total middle.
And everything that comes with that.
So what do you mean by that?
I think you feel like neglected. You're not special because you're not the oldest and you're not the youngest. And my younger brother was a firstborn son. So I was definitely, I'm very self-driven and independent. And our parents raised us that way. If you want to do it, go do it. And I remember my mom, when I was 13, my mom said, you have fun this summer because this is going to be the last summer you work or you play. You're going to work next summer. So I mean, we were just all very independent and just kind of had our own paths and did different things. But I love them all very much.
What's the biggest thing that you learned from your parents that you instill with your children today?
I love that that faith has always been important because life is hard. And we've gone through so many things even this last year, but I'm so grateful and I don't mean to make this a religious show, but I guess this is who I am. I would say faith is really important to me, and they always prayed with me, and they were never uncomfortable praying with me. And so that's something I do with my boys and Chad before I walk out the door every day. We always pray together before we leave. And I'm probably grateful that and it was sincere. It wasn't like we went to church because that's what you did. Like, they feel it in their heart and soul and being is that they want to be good people and do the right thing. And there's definitely like just a spiritual running through both of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you? For you?
Man, just give it all you got. Mm-hmm. My dad was a truck driver, so he wasn't always around. But my mom, she just lived every second for me. Yeah. Which is kind of a downfall for her, too, I think, at the same time. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with giving my all to my children and knowing that I'm raising healthy, happy humans that are making a difference and contributing to society. Like, I don't care. They're my why.
Yeah. Oh, they should be because, again, we all die. Mm-hmm. So it's what we leave behind. Mm-hmm. And another human being that understands that and passes on to the next generation is like the best we can do, right? Mm-hmm. And if it's not as a parent, mannerisms. As a volunteer, as a teacher to another woman or child or person,
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you sharing.
Well, thank you.
What song would describe you?
Well, so I would say, I'd say Footloose. Because Footloose.
Yeah, no, I know this song.
I've always loved that movie because, he's just so stressed out and he just wants to, like the movie. I guess I like the movie too. And that scene where he just tells the church and the people, like, I just want to dance. Like, all he wants to do is dance. And everybody's telling him, no. And then that song comes on and it's like, yes. And you live, right? And you dance. And I think dancing. I love to dance. I have a few girlfriends that like to go dance. Yeah, I like to go places and go dancing.
I love it.
But Chad would say, "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" because I play that all the time.
That's a good jam.
Yeah, ain't no mountain. Yeah, so my boys can't stand that. I do not have a good voice either. Although I've had dreams where I'm this, it's like a reoccurring dream that I'm the best singer in the world.
But I'm always like, God, why didn't you give me the voice? Because I would rock it, because I sing all the time. I entertain myself, and I'm like, why didn't I get the voice?
I feel like he messed up. Like, he forgot it. Because I'm really good, and people are like, oh, that was amazing. And then I wake up, like, that's another weird singing dream. But I have that dream all the time.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. What's something that nobody knows about you?
Well, there's a lot of things, people. I'm a very, very private person. And maybe I'll have one more after this and I'll tell you more. But one thing that's safe ears would be that I love figure drawing. And so when I was in college, one of my stress relievers was to take art classes. And I loved nude drawing. I loved the human form. I think it's beautiful.
Nude drawing.
What
are you going to do me?
I would totally do you. Yes.
Like Titanic style, because that's what I think of when I hear nude drawing.
Yeah, I mean, and if you really look at a woman and how she bends and her folds, and, I think we did like a man or a couple, whatever. But
do you do chat often? You're like, babe, I'm really stressed out. I'm going to need you to take your clothes off so I can.
Definitely never happened. But he has a great physique. I'm very proud of my husband for his great physique. He works very hard at it. He's very healthy. But no, I never did figure drawing with. I did make a mistake as a parent, and I shouldn't tell you this, but I am now, so I have to. My son Paxton loves to draw. In fact, he's been in the district art show every year. I mean, he's an amazing, amazing artist. And he went down into our storage and he found all my nude drawings. And there's tons of them from college. 4 years of nude drawing. There's lots of them. And I was just so proud. Like, aren't these beautiful? And then we were at a friend's house and he starts doing nude drawings at a friend's house. And they're like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? And Chad was so mad at me. He said, Jessi, he's too young for that. Not age appropriate. So that might have been a mom mistake. I just was so excited to share something with him, but obviously not the right age.
It was very innocent.
Yeah, but he was a little too little to be drawing nude bodies. I don't know. So lesson learned. Mm-hmm. There's but I do. I think that's one of my oh gosh, there's a lot of things people don't know about me. I'm a very private person.
Keep them coming.
I have a lot of acquaintances, but I only have like 2 or maybe 3 people that really know things about me. But I'll tell you, I will say this. I'm really grateful to Janine Yaklich, who's helped me through this year with picking up my boys. And because COVID was so shut down, I literally went to work and then went straight home, and she grabbed my boys, and we have this whole year, we've just grown so close together because there was nobody else to talk to because you couldn't see anybody. And so we shared so much. And I'm sure you found this too through COVID. I connected with different people that I wouldn't normally have connected with.
Like my neighbor Dominique, because she was there every day. And I mean.
And did you learn something from her too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We shared a lot.
Yeah.
Very grateful.
And it's like a forever connection.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm really, I have to mention that. I'm just so grateful to Janine. Do you know Janine? She's such a good person.
I don't know her that well, but she is super sweet.
Yeah. She's very sweet. And it's, I think that we're a lot alike in our personalities, so it makes me feel good that she's the one picking up my kids and bringing them home. And I'm only about 30 minutes after her, but I mean, those 30 minutes are important. Then she always stays about another 30 minutes later. Also, Lindsay Timothy, I don't know if you know Lindsay Timothy, I have to just mention that. She's helped me a lot. She's picked up the boys too. And my father-in-law, he lost his girlfriend right before COVID, and I still wonder if she had, I don't know, because nobody really knew anything. And it was right after Tanisha. Tanisha passed, and then his girlfriend passed. I felt like we were going to funerals for like an entire year there for a while. But he has been a godsend. He picks up the boys on Tuesdays, and they've developed such a special bond through me working and COVID and having that time together. So yeah, a lot of great relationships have been new ones established and others reestablished. And I'm just really grown from this time, and I'm also having a hard time transitioning back into. I'm the first, like, we should go back to school, da-da-da-da. But at the same time, I feel a little torn. I appreciated that time. Mm-hmm. It was good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was okay to just take a step back and do it. So how can you find that balance, is what I would challenge. Because I'm there, too. Like, I'm excited. Let's move on. Like, I'm ready. But then, too, there were so many good things that came from it.
Right. But listening to your heart, going back to maternal instincts or to being motherhood advice, I think my advice for women and new moms is we all have a maternal instinct. When you second guess something, like I feel like I should go check on my kids, something might be, listen to that. That's wisdom. Absolutely. That's something in there. And the same thing right now, like as we're I feel like I should don't do it. We have an instinctual, it's built in there. We just actually have to take the time to listen to it and respect it, right?
You're so cute. I love Miss Jessi Ones. I almost said my own.
I love myself.
I love myself. I'm working on being my inner cheerleader. I do love you, Jess.
Obviously, what you've learned about this from me is I have a lot of work to do, so I don't know if I have a lot of good advice to give, but
you have lots of amazing advice.
What did you learn that was interesting about me that was actually something that she was new for? Because we've known each other for a while.
The new drawings. She's going to draw me nude.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one. Yes. No, I've just always adored you and respected you, and you're just a good human, Jess.
Oh,
you
thank
really
you.
Are.
You're a good human. You were meant to drop in my world right now, for sure.
Yes, I love it. She just wanted me to go over the edge. That's it.
No, I love that you're a Casa volunteer. I know some of the stuff that you have going on, and kudos to you for showing up and doing the hard stuff. I see you getting teary-eyed because it's a life that's in your hands, and you take it seriously. And you're changing that. When we say you're changing a kid's story, it's truly you're helping this kid get to a good place so that they don't have the next 10 years of their lives aren't sad stories.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really important work what you're doing. But I'm so grateful that you've been in my life these last year. It's been kind of fun to reconnect with you, and I love you so much. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
We've got this one little gnat.
I know. I'm like, where did this come from?
And there's with these
flowers.
He must like the wine because of the fruit. That's probably why.
Maybe that's what it is. Was there anything else you want to add?
Oh, I guess I would say I'm really grateful. I don't think I said this, but I say I was grateful to my mother-in-law. I love her so much. Of course, my mom and my mother-in-law, but I am so grateful to a woman named Jean Graber. She's my best friend's mother, and she was a second mother to me in my college years, and those years I was making decisions. And there was a couple times that she called me out, and she helped me make the right decision so that my life was in a good place. And she's forever changed my life by making those phone calls. And I hope she knows that I'm very grateful. And of course, I don't know if I mentioned all those wonderful women with the league, like Ann Weyerbach and Doreen.
Our league is so fantastic with so many women.
Donna Souter, best public speaker in Pueblo by far.
I know.
But I feel like it's hard. It's such a big question because there's so many good people that people put in my life. And I definitely need to look forward, making sure I continue to have wisdom and discernment to making sure those people are in my path.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what does the word influential mean to you?
That's another big question. I would say influential is somebody who has great new ideas, but also the ability to effectively communicate them to others, because a lot of people have great ideas, but not everyone's able to say them in a way that people hear. And when they hear it, then change comes. And so I think people that are influential are people with great ideas, that are great communicators, that create change, and not just for themselves, but for other people. So there's that domino effect.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm so glad that you decided to get your education in communications, because Jessi, I feel like you communicate with grace and love, and that's what makes you an extraordinary person, and what makes you an influential woman. So
I appreciate
thank you for
that.
bringing the new ideas. Thank you for communicating them effectively so that they can, move forward with all that you do. I wish you nothing but the best, and I admire you.
Cheers.
You are an influential woman.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.